All right, guys, welcome to the broadcast today. Welcome to our episode lesson number 52, how to fix the third body part that I talked about, and that's your back. Part one, because there's a lot of different exercises that we can do to improve our, sorry about that. All right. So there's lots of exercises we can do to improve our lower back. I'm not sure if you're like me, but pain is not just physical. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that other things can cause pain? Apart from, of course, an injury, a hit, a heavy lift. So you can injure yourself for sure physically, but chronic pain or some of the back pain can be something else. Do you believe that? I believe that. And what causes that pain is emotions. Chinese medicine, the Neigong internal exercise, strongly believe in one, lack of qi flow. So there's a stagnating energy. The qi is stagnating, it's not flowing well. I've already showed you many exercises to improve the blood flow through the back. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back in a past lesson and review it. Some was you diving down. Do you remember that one? You smashing the kidney in the back and your dantian. So there's very specific exercises to increase the blood flow. Now emotions. Regret can affect your heart. Anger can affect your liver. So what affects your back? Sometimes what affects back pain is you don't feel supported or you feel overwhelmed. Do you feel that way in your life in some areas? Try to look at your life and think about your daily feelings. So how do you feel throughout the day? Is it a happy, positive day, or is it a negative, disempowering day? Now, this is a very personal question to you. I cannot answer it. You know you. So you have to go inside, ask yourself the right questions. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? And those negative emotions can be stored in the different organs of the body, in the joints. So this is why it's so important to follow the lessons. Like we talked about exercise, we talked about breathing, we talked about meditation, we talked about laughter. See, all these things will build an armor around pain or try to reject or to block it from entering the body. So remember to follow the lessons. Are you laughing every day? Are you meditating every day? Are you breathing deeply and going through the different basic patterns that I've showed you? And are you doing the basic exercises? Are you releasing bad feelings? You have to be in gratitude. You have to be happy to be alive. You're here right now. So go for a walk. If you're around water, go for a swim. If there's water around you, a natural lake. This is the summer, this is perfect to be around water and walking on the beach. The water has a very powerful effect on your emotions and your feelings. So that's the first thing to consider. Am I feeling overwhelmed and unsupported in my life? If you don't feel supported, then you need to look at your friends and the people that you trust in your circle and then be able to make decisions and maybe change or to acquire more people in your life that support you. And not to feel overwhelmed. Remember in the first lessons, my mom has a saying that she used to say, this too shall pass. So with that thinking, anything that happens, don't get overwhelmed. Take it one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Don't get overwhelmed. Exercises. Last week we talked about our habits, and because of our society, we're sitting a lot, right? We're sitting at a desk, or we're riding subway, metro, Uber, like we're sitting a lot, and this shortens our quads and affects and pulls on our lower back and has like a snowball effect. It goes from one to another. One stretch, one position that you should do daily is the next exercise that I'm going to show you. Most people cannot do it. They cannot get into the position. It's a very simple position. Maybe you've already seen it, you already know it, but to know and not to do is not to know. And that's another saying that we've talked about before. So you have to do it, you have to implement and integrate it. So the stretch is the lunge. You have to get comfortable doing a lunge. I just woke up just a couple of, like maybe 10 minutes ago, just before the broadcast, so I'm not warmed up, but it's something that you should be able to do in the morning waking up. When I drop, the first step I do is I make sure that my foot is flat. And this leg, this knee is above my ankle. I'm on my knee and I try to drive my hip forward. So I come back, this is the stretch. So I'm leaning in, right? First step. Next step is to try to lock your back leg and stretch your hip. Stretch your quad. Then you try to drop your elbow on the inside and hold. Simply feeling this stretch and being able to keep your front foot flat and knee aligned with the ankle and hold the position and extend your quad and stretch. This is the first basic one. If you want to look up, you can look up to add another level of stretch. So look up as you're trying to keep your back leg locked. Drop your knee down, then try to grab your ankle, right? And do the same movement, stretch forward. And extend the quad. The quad needs to be flexible and long. Helps release the back. Do both sides. That's the first key. This should be, if you can't do this basic movement, then you need to focus on doing this stretch every single day, along with the Cossack squat or just the alternating right to left that I've showed you before. This down motion and trying to keep your heel on the mat, toes up, foot flat, and nice and low. This helps build ankle flexibility, and you can do the same stretch to the floor. If you combine these two exercises, just these two basic ones, the alternating right to left and just the basic front lunge, you extend and stretch the quad. That's your first one. And then the other one that I do is, it's a reading position for me. So I like to find a position and then I read or I meditate in that stretching position. There's a lot of different ones, and this one here is the pelvic lift, and you should be very strong at it because the lower back will thank you for it. So when you're on your back, you come up and lift your hip and drive straight up and relax. And I would read in this position. Now, you're not just holding the position mindlessly. My very first lesson, mind in muscle. When you're pressing in the floor, you can do this position and you can hold it for hours if it's not done correctly. When you're holding the position, your feet, focus all your weight, all your power on your heels, and you drive your feet deep into the ground. So you visualize, you feel, and you project that. You think of your feet like very deep-rooted tree roots. Very old oak tree, very deep roots, and you drive the feet in the ground. So you're using some isometric, some self-resistance. You're adding difficulty to the exercise because your mind is in the muscle and you're driving straight down. Just by tweaking this very little detail will make the exercise way more difficult. I have to repeat this. Some people might hold the pelvic lift and look at that exercise and say, it's easy. It's not easy if you do it right, with the right intention. So you push the floor and try to drive your feet 2 to 3 feet into the ground. That's what you visualize. If you do that and you let me know how it felt, you'll notice a very big difference in the difficulty of the exercise. Once you've done the pelvic lift correctly with mind and muscle, then you simply stretch to one side and the next and you're done. Those are the exercises I want you to start with today as part 1. Once you've lifted and you drove your feet into the ground, your knees are bent, feet together. Now turn to one side. Try to keep both of your arms on the ground. Keep both your shoulders on the ground. Now, some of you might not be able to do that. It's okay. But try to build upon it that you're able to hold the stretch and then come back and then hold the stretch on both sides. We do things here in a very specific way. One thing at a time. One lesson at a time. This is part 1. I want you to focus on that. So, take this lesson, integrate it, implement it. Think of your emotions. What might be affecting certain organs or certain joints of the body? Research this, how emotions affect body parts. There's a reason why the Chinese medicine, acupuncture, have been around for many, many years, thousands of years. So use the concept, release. Apply the lesson and do the exercises. Walk the path of self-mastery. I'm Martin Patenaude. I'll talk to you next week.